Just seen the Kanye Part 1. I guess it's called Part 1. Not really, like, I can't say impressed, because I think Kanye at his core is a inspirational dude, an inspirational person, and I pretty much knew everything that they were saying. It was amazing to see someone in those moments still keep going. When he presented himself, his music, and he was so excited about it. And in hindsight, we hear the songs and we go, "How the hell don't you see that? That's dope." Like when he played "All Falls Down." Um, when I first heard that she had hair so long and it looked like weave, when she cut it all off, that she looked like Eve. I'm like, "Oh, this guy's dope." See, for me, Kanye at the time, me and my homeboys, when they played Kanye, we were like, "Oh, he's a new Dr. Dre." That's how we thought of it, because that was the last producer, rapper that was making classic stuff, and we knew him from the Blueprint. And then we heard a mixtape. I want to say the mixtape came out way before his album, and I want to say it came out just before he was signed, and he was promoting it as a way to get signed. So when we heard it, we've heard like I think High Tech, who produced for Quali. There were a couple of producers who were trying to rap. I think Pharrell was trying to make music. Nobody with Timbaland. Timbaland trying to make music, and he made some appearances on Aaliyah's album, on Aaliyah's songs. God bless the dead. But it wasn't Dr. Dre. You know what I mean? And then Kanye, when we heard the mixtape, we were like, wait, he writes his own raps? If that's him, then it doesn't even matter. This is dope. Dr. Dre don't write his own raps. We already knew. That's the thing about the whole Jay-Z thing. When he wrote Still Dre, like, we knew back then he wrote it. I guess it was a nerdy thing, because we were looking at credits and it was in a Source magazine or something. But I think Kanye, that's what I felt in that moment. But to see him not believe in that, and in the face of the gatekeepers, which were ironically the ones who were kept out before the 90s, with the gangster image dudes, right? Like, the industry thought MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice entering the 90s was the way to promote this music, in a commercialized way. And Dr. Dre changed all of that. I give Dr. Dre credit over everyone else in terms of one person that has the most equity in commercializing music, rap music, because it's gangster music. It's like The Godfather. The Chronic was in the NWA era, and then Doggy Style. It's like the Godfather of gangster music, and it changed the way that you can sell rap. And Kanye damn near single-handedly changed it back, right? Like 50 Cent, they were all looking for, the industry was looking for 50 Cent. His story was in high demand because Pac had just died, and the gangster side of the street angle had played out so many times, right? So when 50 Cent blew up, it's almost like, even looking at that in hindsight, they were looking for that guy. DMX, all these guys that reminded you of Pac, that were making great music too. Once you have that combination, it's a volcano, right? Active volcano. Kanye was like the image, they weren't into it. And then, of course, looking back on it now, it's remarkable to see someone being that confident and resilient in the face of true resistance. And he was in the office and he played that song when he, just not being able to get a deal. Dame and them not really, they didn't see it because they were caught up in the same life that they were like promoting, right? So now they don't look at Kanye like that. They look at him as kind of weird. And they don't, they eventually get to the part at the end where, Jay-Z gives Kanye the chain in a concert. But we saw that a million times. I think that was in a music video for Kanye. And so that wasn't surprising, right? And he was so excited because he like Jay-Z's pushing him. You can see him. I never saw that part. I never realized he told Kanye like, no, nah, you gotta say something. Like, here, grab the mic. And he plays it off. And for Kanye to speak up at his own, in his own city. And at the end, you can see Kanye being Kanye, getting overexcited. And he goes crazy. And Jay-Z's kind of like taking the mic back. And one thing about the Kanye thing that I didn't want to get into it because I feel like it's so hypocritical. Like, we talk about Ben Simmons and mental health and people do all that, but they turn around and promote Kanye on the internet. Like, this guy came out and he has spoken on his diagnosis. He's bipolar, right? Diagnosed. But we still like toy around with this guy as a celebrity, as like an animal in a cage. Like, we just want to show up and watch him, see what he does. And for me, it's hypocritical of us to continue to watch that. And I was reluctant to watch the documentary because of our hypocrisy as people. And some people I respect, shout out to Robert Silva, Dorian 82, them speaking on it made me want to watch it, because they kind of just see, Dorian 82 explained it really well, but he just kind of saw Kanye for what it was. Forget about, you can appreciate someone for what they did for the inspiration. You don't have to accept everything that they do. And that is the part about Kanye that is what he is. That's why he's in the same lane, in rap music with the Nipsey Hussles of the world and Jay-Z's and Rick Ross's. Kanye wouldn't come to mind as far as inspiration, but he does. And that's the reason why I watched it. But I didn't learn anything new. And another thing that stood out the most for me, was about his mom. Just watching how his mom be so accepting and just boosting his confidence like that. It reminds you, like, you see like what a mother should be. And with him, we've always said that was a turning point for that man, for Kanye, when his mother passed away. So to see that, and to see that moment when they're sitting down in the kitchen and she's explaining to him like, yeah, I think you're kind of arrogant, but in your own way you're perfect. You just gotta, she's basically telling him like, you got it. It felt like my favorite movie of all time is Troy. Everyone who knows me knows I'm into Greco-Roman. That's inspirational to me, right? And it reminds me of the movie in Troy when his mom, is that Alexandria? Achilles' mother is telling him like, yo, you could stay here and be a regular dude. They're gonna remember your name for generations to come. You're gonna have children, have a family, be happy, be blessed. But they'll forget your name after like a couple generations. Your name will be forgotten. Or you can go to that war in Troy and you'll never be forgotten. And things like that, it seems like unreal, right? But I don't know what the Grecos, the Greeks were doing back then to tell a story about your Achilles heel, right? The Achilles, we will never forget that name because it's a part of your body part. And for Kanye, it was like that moment for me, as and you don't want to boost somebody as godly in terms of, because of their celebrity, like from that Nietzsche factor, Friedrich Nietzsche factor, like, be careful who your Superman is. He's still very childlike, Kanye, and the bipolarness does, affect him. And you see, I hear some of the stuff about what's going on with his family, and it's unfortunate. But you also see like someone like that needs that support and that filtering. And it started with his mom being there, and just, is anyone there like that, for him? Does he respect anyone like that? Is that missing, obviously would affect him. And just being able to be that confident in the face of an English teacher every day, she was very, I don't want to use the term proper, but maybe it is the right term. Like my mom is very like righteous. Like I grew up, she's a feminist. I had a feminist in my house growing up, and she didn't take anything from anyone. If she didn't like you, she can be condescending. She can be, she's not as warm as as Kanye's mom, but she taught me, like, when you're right, you're right. And if you feel a certain way about something, you gotta fight for it. And to come in the house, like, she was totally against anything that I speak anyway, any street language, any mannerisms I have outside of educational, proper education and progressive. Anything outside of that, she's like, that has nothing to do with her. You couldn't even say ain't around my mom. You could not mispronounce a word without being corrected. She was like an English teacher. The reason why I can walk into a job interview and speak like this, and then people want to call it code switching. It's like, no, it's there are different dialects in every language, right? So she's the reason why I understand what's considered the proper dialect in this country. She didn't play that, and I know what it took, what level of confidence and arrogance maybe it took to be in the face of an English teacher, to be in your house and say, no, this is what I am, this is what it's gonna be, and I gotta keep going. So again, to deal with that filter, that barricade, and be confident enough to boast right through it, it's he was a diamond that already went through the rough, right? So it was cool, but that was definitely a moment that resonated. His mom being such a major factor, especially being a Kanye West fan. I hope everyone gets the help that they need, because I think it's not just about the person who's suffering through mental illness or going through the mental illness. It's about the family, the people around them that take care of them. We don't talk about that enough. We just think about the person going through it, because we really don't know what to do. You just don't. They're helpless. Like, they can't help themselves. And it's like, imagine, I don't want to compare it to an addict, but imagine someone being, like, when someone's an addict, if they don't want help, you can't help them. So that's why I think we write it off as an illness, because what can you do about it? You can try to help them, but you know what I mean? So I don't want to compare mental illness to addiction to anything, but an illness is an illness, and that's why I don't play with that. Anybody who's speaking on suffering through anything like that, mental health issues, I don't play with that. If you're saying you're going through that, seek the proper help if you can, if you're in that right space. Show love to people that show you love, man. I just got a message from Just on Twitter. Shout out to Just. Thanks for hitting me up on Twitter, showing me telling me my video was fire, like you got something. All of that means something, because I'm editing and doing all these things, and it can just go a different direction. You just go through the motions. You think about, like, Nipsey Hussle, there's a marathon, or even the Kanye West story, just being resilient. And the marathon is, you always want to give up. You're going to always find a reason to give up, and you're going to have legitimate excuses to give up. But if you get up and keep going, you just never know. You want to go about it smartly, but you never know. So shout out to Just. Shout out to All Ball. My man Ruger, Bugs, Glenn, B Mad, Carla, Dime Dropper, my partner. We work. He really inspired me to do a bunch of, look more into and challenge myself, like on a basketball level, the history of the NBA. There's a whole bunch of people I would have to shout out to keep going. Everyone just saying to keep going, and if you have something, you just do it. It's early. Using my car light as a background. You hear the rain. Feels great. We're alive, baby. I'm alive. Fabian!